Hey beauties, good afternoon to you. I want us to really sit and ponder on this. One of the things that we sadly do as human beings, and I guess it's because of the fact that we are broken people, we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. That's a serious thing, It means that that's how we were fashioned. That is why it is easy for somebody to do something evil and wicked without even batting an eyelid. It is easy for you to just fall, to just do the wrong thing, and repeatedly at that. But it's so funny, like when people go to church and you hear they preach a number of the commandments, they tend to focus on the ones that are midway to the end. For example, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not fornicate. Those are the ones, but we tend not to focus on the very first ones, or the first one I should say, where it says put no other God above God. Love the Lord your God basically with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength. So it's with your everything. You love him with your everything. You love nobody, you love nothing above God. You love no one, any and everything. You don't love them above God. I know I'm saying the English is wrong there, but please permit me. Above God, and you love your neighbor the very same way you love yourself. Some people may not love themselves, so we say you treat people the way you want to be treated, and that's a very deep commandment, because it's basically a part of the first commandment. God really has not separated the two, and because the second commandment talks about not calling the Lord's name in vain, and the other one talks about the Sabbath. The third one, nothing to do with fornication, adultery, stealing, and all of these wonderful things. And I'm not using the word wonderful loosely. And I said to myself, when we're able to, one of the ways that we can truly say that we love our neighbor as we love ourselves is when whatever we do for ourselves, you can do for somebody else to the exact degree. So for example, let us say you have, and money is a very key thing, and the reason why I use money, because that tells you about somebody. You want to know who somebody is, you ask them for money. And when you ask them for money, ask them for large sums and more than one time, and see how they respond to you. That is how you know the true measure of a man or a woman's heart. And it means, therefore, if you can buy a BMW, an Audi, a Rolls Royce, or whatever for yourself, it means, therefore, that you can buy it for your neighbor. And when I say neighbor, obviously I don't mean your exact next door neighbor, but you can buy it for somebody else in your life, and I'm going to go as far as to say even a stranger, when we talk about the Good Samaritan, the man that he helped is somebody that he did not have an idea about. In fact, it is like he was helping a so-called enemy in a backhanded way, meaning the Samaritans and the Jews, they were basically at odds. They were arch enemies. And when the Levites and when the Levite and the other so-called godly person passed, that person, it was his so-called arch enemy that helped him and said, any amount that is needed, I will come back and pay for it. That is what he did. So it's not just an ordinary neighbor. He went and helped to the fullest. He did what he would have done for himself. So if it means if you buy a Rolls Royce for yourself, you buy it for somebody else. If somebody comes and says, I'm in need, and they're really in need of $1 million, and you're able to give it, you give it, because it's something that you would desire for yourself. The Bible says, welcome strangers into your home, because it's like welcoming angels. Obviously, we know we have to use wisdom. We'd have to ask God's guidance, because we live in a very sick and broken world. You can't just welcome every and anyone, because it might be go welcoming some demon, unfortunately. So naturally, you'll be using wisdom where that is concerned. But I want us to understand the etymology, the serious root meaning when God says, love your neighbor, treat your neighbor the very same way you want to be treated. That's very serious. It means, therefore, if I don't want somebody to tell me horrible things, describe me in a horrible way, treat me with disrespect, treat me with disdain, it means I do the same for somebody else. Everything that I like to happen to me, it's the same thing I'm going to wish for and to do to others. We have to be very careful, because to be honest with you, beautiful people, there are really just two commandments. or I should say one, which is part A and part B. Loving God above everything and everyone and everything, and loving your neighbor, treating your neighbor the very same way you want to be loved and treated. When you do that, you will follow the rest of the other commandments, because it means that you have a deep love and regard for God. You honor God and you honor people. Sometimes when you see some things happening to people in life, they really think it's because they're funny. Yes, there's punishment. The Bible talks about there no sin goes unpunished. But sometimes it is on the basis of how you treated your fellow brother and sister. And obviously I'm talking about another human being. The things that you say about them behind their backs, the things that you do to them, the humiliation, the embarrassment that you bring without any feeling, without any thinking that, okay, this is a seed that I've sown and I have to go and pay the piper. I have no choice but to reap that harvest when it comes, because a harvest will come. Sometimes I scroll social media. You see some people, I see one, because somebody, was speaking about the individual, they retaliated by doing the same thing. That every day they get up, they say something negative about the individual. And I'm saying, all you're doing, you're just making your bed in hell. Because there's nothing good that will come from it. It is tempting to, sometimes we're human beings, sometimes we'll falter. Sometimes you'll get angry and say the wrong things and do the wrong things, and say, God, this is how I feel. I feel like giving into my flesh. I feel like giving into the whims and the fancy of the devil, because it hurt how I feel. But when we sit and we meditate and we say to ourselves, what if it were me? If we ask ourselves, what if it were me? Would I want somebody to respond this way? Would I want somebody to say all the different vitriol, the different, vituperance, the different evil, rancor, malevolent comments, something very to vilify somebody else? Would I want that to happen for me? Would I really want people to tell me all of these horrid things? If I'm in a desperate position, I want somebody to help me. So if I want somebody to help me financially, it means that I have to help others who are in need, the poor and those in need. That's why the Bible says the poor and needy, because somebody may not necessarily be poor, but they may be down on their luck for the moment. I remember somebody was sharing with me and others that there was somebody who would help them. Somebody, a business person, well-to-do. Not necessarily wealthy, but well-to-do, would lend, if their friend needed monies, like I'm talking in the millions, Jamaica here I'm talking. They're far and few, because I've heard people say, boy, Jamaican people mean, generally speaking, in comparison to other countries. And sometimes it seems to be true. Sometimes it seems that way. And it would help the friend. And one day things just went bad for his business. And the friend was in a good stead, and he went back to the friend. And the friend said, boy, that person did a lot. I have to give back. I kind of not in the best shape, but I can do something. I'm kind of not in the best shape, but I can do something, and I'm going to help that person. And that person needed about $5-6 million. Would you do that for somebody, or you think they're not good enough for that? Because that's one of the things we have to think about. What God says, when it says love our neighbor as ourselves, it means whatever you wish for yourself and want for yourself, you have to want that for somebody else. And if you have the ability to do it for them, it means you do it for them. Would you do that, or you think the person is not good enough for that? I remember I was listening to Joyce Meyer. She said she had a wonderful, expensive red dress that she wasn't wearing, and she had it for a while. And somehow the Spirit of God moved upon her to give it away. And like she said, basically, but that person is not worth getting that, I'm a good dress like you. That's I'm a Gucci, my Louis Vuitton, me. And every time she came across a dress, that feeling came over her. And she gave it to the person. The person was so thankful. And the person used the dress. She probably would not have worn it so much. As expensive as the dress was, as exquisite as it was. That is what it talks about in every way, in every form, in every fashion. That's how the blessings, that is why some people, you see them blessed tremendously, because they do that. You have people who are like that. They will give $1 million, lend $1 million. Even if them get bite 1 and 2 times, them say, boy, God, me know when I lend to the poor and needy, it's like lending to you. So you will repay me. They don't repay me, but God will repay me. I don't like when somebody tell me horrible things. I'm not going to tell somebody horrible things. I'm not going to speak negatively about them. You have to think on these things before you get up and say you love your neighbor as yourself. You treat people the way you want to be treated. It's a deep, deep thing. Very deep. Guys, follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this message. Thank you.